Alright, I gotta set the record straight. For those of you who know me or know of me, probably a lot of you think about the shit that you heard about me, that I'm a fucking dirtbag and I've been arrested all these times and done all this bad shit. Well, I gotta set the record straight on some of that. So, this is about the time I was 13 and I got arrested in school the first time. How that all transpired. It wasn't because I was a bad kid. So I had a buddy at the time. My mother lived right next to the school. I was able to leave school and walk to my mother's house, and she was right in town. So, and my buddy lived up the street. We started walking home to my mother's house every day, and as kids, no cell phones, no fucking video games, no money. We had to find some shit to do. So what we would do is we would go into the woods that were in town, and we'd look around. And we ended up finding this old foundation. It was like the foundation to an old train station by a river in the woods. And the cool thing about this foundation was it almost had like a roof over it, and you can go underneath, and it was like a little cave in there. So essentially, him and I, we start taking sticks and shit, and we're gonna build a little clubhouse here, and this is where we went every day to hang out after school. Now, while we're building, we're like, man, we could really use some rope, or we could really use some of this. So we started walking around, and we're looking through the woods, and the Agway was right up the hill. So we go into Agway, we look around, and we're like, man, what can we use to build our fort? Everything costs money. We didn't have any money, but we didn't want to steal either. We weren't going to go steal from the stores. So we're looking around, we realize I ain't got any money. So fuck it. We go back into the woods. Now, in the woods, there's like old tires and old weird, just random shit. And so we spent days and days and days building up our little fort, putting sticks. And it was in like a gully. Like there's a hill on either side, so it was down in the dip, this old foundation right next to a river. So we're like, all right, let's go look around. Maybe we could find some stuff. Maybe there's some other stuff in the woods. Let's go look around. So we start trekking through the woods. Now we're not that far from the street, but there's plenty of trees that you can't really see the street. And when we do come up on a road, we find this little path. And on this little path, there's this old abandoned barn, pretty much. It's got the big sliding barn doors on it. It's all run down. Boards have fallen off it. It's rotten. Paint's chipping. It's an old rundown barn. And we're like, man, I wonder what's inside of that. So we go up to the door. The doors aren't locked. It's actually partially opened. So we grab a hold of it and pull it back. It opens right up. And we poke our heads in there and look around. And there's just tons and tons of boxes inside of this building. Old. Everything looks old and untouched. So we go in, we start looking around, and we realize that these boxes are packed with like brand new random shit. Like the most random shit you can think of. Fucking batteries, silverware sets, all types of weird random shit. And all of it looks like it hasn't been touched in years. So we're like, wow, we just stumbled. This is a fucking jackpot. Let's go look through this shit and see what we could use to build our fort. So we start looking around, and we find these boxes, these big cardboard boxes that are filled with boxes of condoms. And we were 13 at the time, and health classes teaching us about sex and condoms and safe sex and all this shit. So it was the interest at the time. All the kids in school would joke about sex, and if you had a condom, it was like this novelty thing. Like, oh look, I got a condom. So I had the great idea that we were going to take all these condoms and we were going to bring them to school and sell them for $1. And we were going to make a ton of money, and then we would be able to afford to build our fort, get the things we need for our fort. So we start hauling shit out of this abandoned building, take it back to the house, and I'm opening all these boxes of condoms, and I'm dumping them in my book bag, and I'm getting prepared for school next day. I'm going to make a ton of money at school. So next day, I go to school, tell people, hey, look, I got condoms for sale for $1. Well, this kid comes up to me. He didn't have $1. He says, he wants me to give him a condom. And I told him, no, you need $1. So he must have got upset. But anyway, later on, or maybe right when that was going down, he says, well, I got a lighter that looks like a gun. You want to trade me? And I thought that was pretty cool. So I said, all right, sure. I'll give you the condom after this class, whatever. He gives me the lighter. Take the lighter, put it in my pocket. Well, we go to the class. I'm sitting in class. Somebody's knocking on the door. Teacher goes to the door. There's another teacher outside the door with a police officer. So I'm like, man, what the fuck's going on? Well, lo and behold, teacher turns around and says, Mr. Schrader, why don't you come with us? And I'm like, what the fuck, man? What's going on? They pull me out into the hallway, and the teacher looks at me and says, you got anything in your locker you want to tell us about? And I'm like, nah, man, I ain't got nothing in my locker to tell you about. She's like, all right. So they open my locker up, they pull my book bag out, and they look in there, and they see 1,000 condoms. And immediately they're looking at me like, what the fuck? So you got a 13-year-old with 1,000 condoms. We got to figure out what the fuck's going on here. So they bring me down to the principal's office, and at this point I'm a little nervous. I got condoms. I'm 13. I'm in school. Like what? That was my thinking. And the cop says, Mr. Schrader, what are you doing with all these condoms? Um, so have a sister that's 2 years older than me, and my first instinct was to say, I got them for my sister. She's got a boyfriend. I got him for my sister. And he looks at me. He's like, you got probably over 1,000 condoms in your book bag, and you got them for your sister. That's what you're telling me. And he says, where did you get them? And I didn't think it did anything wrong. I wasn't thinking about breaking and entering and burglary and all this shit. So I told the cop. I said, look, a buddy of mine and I were building a fort in the woods, and we found this abandoned barn. And inside this abandoned barn, there was a bunch of shit, like boxes of random shit. So we started using it. So he's like, well, who's your friend? And describe to me where this place is. So I described it to him, and immediately tell him who my friend was. And looking back, that was kind of fucked up, but I didn't know any better. So he says, Mr. Strader, that place, you broke into that place and stole. So basically, you're under arrest right now for felony, and so is your friend. And at the time, I had a pink shirt on, and it was a little big on me, but I had a pink shirt, and I wasn't doing anything special by wearing it. It was just the only shirt I had at the time. And the cop looks at me and he's like, "What's going on with this shirt?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Oh, you're in some kind of gang, huh?" And at 13, I'm like, "What is this guy talking about?" So he's accusing me of being in a gang because I'm wearing a pink shirt. I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about, and I'm trying to explain to him like I have no idea what you mean. It's just the only shirt that I had, and he's arguing with me and telling me that I'm in a gang and all this shit. And mind you, I haven't, I'd been in fistfights in school, but I wasn't involved in anything fucking crazy. So I couldn't understand why I had the cop officer telling me I was in a gang. He's got me under arrest for a felony because I got condoms from an abandoned building. So we go down to the police station. But before we got to the police station, he brings us outside, me and my buddy, and he asks us, do you have anything in your pockets that you need to, that are going to poke, stab, whatever? And my first instinct was, oh shit, I got that gun lighter in my pocket. And I was worried and nervous about having a lighter on school property. So when I went to tell him, I said, yeah, I got a gun. And before I could get gun lighter out of my pocket, all the officer heard was gun. Immediately hand on my back, boom, face down on the car. What do you mean you got a gun? And looking back at it now, this is what they were originally looking for, because the kid told them that I had a gun in my locker, which is why they called me out of the class in the first place. So when I said I had a gun in my pocket, all he heard was gun. He panicked because that's what they were looking for originally. Well, pulls it out of my pocket, realizes it's a gun lighter. It's not even close to looking like a real gun. Anyway, go down to the police station, take my statement, tell the cop what happens, and he's like, all right, well, we got to call one of your parents to come and get you. I can't just let you go. So my go-to was always my mom. I knew I could get away with shit with my mother. I was always afraid of disappointing my dad. He was the stern, disciplined part. My mother was soft and let me get away with a lot of shit. Well, it just so happened that my mother happened to be in surgery this day. So I'm in the police station trying to call my mother when it dawns on me like, oh shit, mom's in surgery. She's not going to be able to come and get me. So I got to call dad. And that was the fucking last thing I wanted to do. I could deal with getting arrested. I could deal with talking to cops. I was not prepared for my father to come and pick me up from this police station. Well, he did. And it was surprising. It surprised me what happened next.